let's talk a little bit about the draft board, but more so as it pertains to Azzi Fudd. Now, the only thing I knew about Azzi Fudd was like she had some deal with Curry Brand, and like she was kind of uh, propped up as maybe Steph's first. Was it an NIL deal or like what was that deal? Because I just remember her being like a young player and like getting on his Instagram and everything. But that was I don't know how many years ago that was.
Yeah, I mean, she's the first, to my knowledge, like the very first signature athlete to sign with the Curry brand. It was like her. She was number one. Like, you know how Fox is signed to the Curry brand? Like, she was the first one signed to the Curry brand. And then I think Malaysia Full Wiley was shortly after.
So she has had a history of ups and downs in college,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe that's another reason to root for UConn, right? Is to have her show out. Um, but she's starting to get in the conversation when it comes to the draft. And I think early in the season, we sort of thought that she'd maybe come back for another year. But now there's talk about maybe her stock is high enough to where, she's moving up into that, top 5, top 6 area where the Valkyries are drafting. And I know you're a big fan of hers. So what do you know about her that upcoming decision, and where do you put her on that list? Like you've talked about some of the players that you want for them, but those players may not be available in that 5 slot. So
Mm-hmm.
what do you think about her value as a possibility for the Valkyries?
I think so. Just a little bit of my knowledge about the player is that she was the number one prospect in her class, which is this class with, that's going out, that's about to get drafted right now. Of course, Paige is the returner from the previous. Paige number one for her year. Then the following year, it was Azzi Fudd coming out of high school. And then Paige is fifth yearing it. But she has another year of eligibility because, like Paige, she missed like an entire year, maybe even 2 entire years of her college season. Like she's kind of had a bad go about it with the injury stuff, and that could be a little bit of hesitancy when it comes to drafting. But when she I had no previous experience of watching her before this year, so I had to wait until maybe I think it was like 10 or 12 games in that she made her return. And then she made her return. And I was like, okay, I'm kind of interested to see what kind of player, like how she plays. And like just so smart. Like I think I think she gets called related to like Clay in the sense of just their shooting form looks like picture perfect. Like every time she shoots it, it looks like a picture perfect form. I think it has a chance of going in. Really good defender. Like she does everything. So I think that if you rank this draft class based on potential,
Mm-hmm.
she's very, very high. But at the same time, I think that there is realistic potential with her. Whereas, with the Sanaya Rivers is like a lot of potential, but kind of maybe like a lower floor or however you say it. But I think that if AZ declares and if she's somehow available at 5, like I think the Valkyries should snatch her up right away. And the pathway to her being available at 5 is if you go Page 1, like in some order, Page 1, Olivia Miles 2, then
Mm-hmm.
Washington has picks 3 and 4. If they go
Mm-hmm.
Dominique Malonga and like Sonia Citron, then there's a pathway for AZ to be available at 5. But
Okay,
that just
but
means
but
Kiki
then
knows the
but yeah,
six.
but then they're jumping Kiki, who I think I've said this before. I think
AZ's a bigger star. AZ's a bigger star.
but from a marketing standpoint to this very new audience, Kiki's probably still
No,
the
I
better
disagree.
marketing pick.
Dude, imagine how much Steph is going to be involved and like the Curry
Well,
brand
that
is going to
that
like
that
prop up
if
AZ if she's on this team.
if Steph says, Joe, you draft her and I'm around, then maybe
I already don't like this.
maybe that swings the mentality. I just think
Joe, stay out of Ohema's. Stay out of her room. Let her
no,
make
I
the
mean
call.
Steph doesn't have to be involved, or Steph and Joe don't have to be involved from the perspective of like getting into the weeds too much. But if you do get AZ and that comes with Steph propping her up and helping the franchise, then yeah, then that's part of the decision. I just think Kiki's ties here and Tara becoming a Valkyries fan and maybe even a little bit of a Bay Area pipeline perspective. I think that would be awesome for how the sort of the community kind of takes to the team. But yeah, you can't. I don't think you can go wrong either way unless Kiki is just not who we thought she would be, because there's lots of talk about her
I
prospect, and
know.
we had Sabrina on this show, and she kind of
Sabrina was
explained.
it wasn't that high. I felt like kind of just hearing her talk about Kiki didn't feel like she thought that she could hit that potential, where Kiki entered the year as like the clear cut number 2 pick. And that was my opinion as well. And now she's fallen all the way to potentially 5 or 6.
Okay, but here's a possibility with the AZ as well. The injuries.
I know. I'm worried about Kiki's prospect. I feel like she heard the noise, and this past game against UCLA, like she was kind of cooking. But a lot of her shots, like that when I watch her at UCLA or USC, is just it's just a lot of in the paint stuff. And I'm like, you're 6'3". It's important that you can finish in the paint like the way you do, but it's like you're not, once you get to the W, like you're not like Asia's 6'3" or 6'4", and she doesn't play the 5. So
Yeah.
like, I have to see like those mid-range jumpers. Like I have to see more of it. And I feel like she like some games she does, some games she doesn't. But I think, and again, I think I've said this on the podcast before, because I watch her so much, I'm definitely like grading her on more of a, like there's different ways you grade prospects. Like to me, I'm like, I think that there's a chance you can be like one of the best players. Like I do have like a high standard for her. I think she could be one of the best players in the W. That was my thought when I first started like watching her. I was like, I think she could be one of the best players in the W. Give me reasons why that won't be the case. And I feel like she's given me a lot of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like Paige hasn't really, and like Olivia Miles, I didn't have that perspective of her. But like she, so it's just I'm worried about like her just like every time, like I swear, watch her pass, and I'm just like, it's never on target. Like, you ever play with that player where you just know that like the pass you're about to get is like not going to be on the money, like you're gonna have to like move a little to get it.
Yeah.
Like that's what I've been feeling when I watch her. And again, maybe I'm not looking at that for different prospects, so it's just like trying to understand better how to do the scout, because yeah, I think I am a tougher critic on her. But again, it's because I think my team has a chance at getting her. So
I
it's
don't
probably
even know.
likely. I think it's likely that she is available at 5. I think it is very likely that she's available at 5.
I don't know why we're even talking about this. Joe's jumping to number 1, and we're getting Paige. That's all I got to say.
There you go. There you go.